what's up? How's it going? It's Kenny Roy, and this is the lecture for the month of September 2013, and it is the AnimGym walkthrough, or run-through. What did I say? I think it's run-through. I don't think we have time to walk, we've got to run. As you probably are noticing, this is a new format for the video mails and the lectures. I'm doing this basically all kind of in camera. Using my streaming software to basically do all the lectures through the basically the exact same method, hopefully making it so that it's easier to make them. They can be up on the site quicker, and I don't have to go through the whole mess of recording them on a camcorder and then importing it, editing in Premiere, and all that stuff. You'll still get all the same goodness. You'll still get me. You'll still get the screen. Everything will be as it was, but at the speed of light. Hopefully everything will be a lot quicker and easier for me. If you are not aware, what the AnimGym is a new initiative on kennyroy.com. Hopefully you know what it is, because it's been on the homepage for a month now. Basically, my idea was to make it so that there was a place for everybody to be doing the kinds of tests, the kinds of small physical shots that I wish I did a lot of when I was learning animation. That's the idea behind the AnimGym. It's that simple. Anyone who is a kennyroy.com member gets a critique on your AnimGym shot. All right, a video critique during a webcast that I'll announce at some point near the end of the month. Okay, so what are you waiting for? Do the test, turn it in the forums. There's a link for where you need to turn in your AnimGym shot. Also, if you go on the left there, if you go into the AnimGym, just a little menu item right there, there is a link in the middle that says click here to submit your AnimGym shot. So just send me your AnimGym shot and you'll get a critique. Now again, the AnimGym is designed to make you basically flex your muscles, doing a shot that is short enough that you will get even practice, evenly distributed practice on your entire workflow. That's the key here. That's the kind of secret behind the AnimGym and why it is, you know, head and shoulders above the kind of practice that you'll get from doing something like the 11-second club or starting a short film, some sort of epic project on your own. And again, this is the kind of thing that I wish when I was learning animation that was around, that I was told about and was forced to do. Because if I had done this, it would have taken me much less time to learn animation than it actually did. It took me a very long time. It took me about 5 years before, from when I moved my first animated character from that first instant, okay, to when I got my first job was about 5 years. Okay, and I would say that was the time that I would call my core learning experience. I was entirely self-taught. There's no reason why a self-taught animator though can't be as good or learn in as little time as someone that goes to a school. There really is no reason at all. So that's what we're trying to do here. So this month I'm going to do the lecture as an AnimGym run-through. And what that means is I'm going to, as fast as I can, run through what my thought processes would be if I was doing an AnimGym shot. And I'm actually going to work on one. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish. Probably not, because I have an hour to an hour and a half in these lectures, right? So I'm probably not going to finish, but hopefully you'll get to see my thought process and with the kinds of things that I'm considering. All right. First thing that I wanted to say to everybody was there's no reason to make these more complicated than they are. We're simplifying. We're pushing it towards the doable, okay? The bite-sized piece of animation to give your workflow even practice, all right? You're starting a shot, you're laying it out, blocking plus polish, finish, okay? For some of you, maybe like the first time in your life, who knows? But for, some people already have this instinct where, well, this month's theme is putting on a hat. That simple, all right? Some people have already had the instinct to put a huge amount of performance into that animation, okay? And the frame length is 48 to 72 frames. I've only checked maybe half of them. There's maybe 15 or so entries already. I've only checked about half, and pretty much all of them are 72 frames, exactly 72 frames long. So I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm not sure how this proves everybody wrong. I don't know, I'm going with it. But I'm going to prove my methodology, rather, by making mine 48 frames. That's it, 48 frames. Why do you need more, okay? So don't turn this into an epic project. Don't make this purposefully harder than it is, because while you might think to yourself, okay, well, I can probably bang this out in like a day or two of free time, and then I'm not going to have anything to do for the rest of the month. No, you take on the attitude of testing animation. Take that on, rather than thinking that this is like your only assignment, okay? By that I mean the best practice you can possibly get is do an AnimGym shot. When you're done with it, do another one, okay? Turn it in. While you're waiting for the end of the month, do another test. Not an AnimGym shot, do another test. Do a 48 frame, somebody, opening a door, or stuffing something in their pocket, or waving at a bee in front of their face, or whatever. Do a million tests. What I've said before, and why the AnimGym is around, is because you're supposed to be doing a lot of tests. I can only offer guidance on basic, like I can only add enough work onto my own workload, my own shoulders right now, to guide you guys on one test a month. But you should be doing 10 or 15. Does that make sense? I hope so. So, again, this all goes back to do not make this purposefully more complex or challenging than it is. It's supposed to be easy and simple. Because the extra added benefit of the AnimGym is that if you have been working on animation for a long time and it's been hard to stay motivated, well, that's probably because 99% of the time it's because you have great taste and you are trying to create animation that satisfies or lives up to that that perfect animation you see in your head, and it doesn't. As you're learning, it doesn't at all. And there's no way to basically learn at the same time as trying to produce that amazing work if you're not quite there yet. So the AnimGym will give you just repeated and just rapid successes. Just you'll meet your goal. You'll meet your goal, and then you'll do it again, and you'll just get win after win after win. And then as you start piling these shots in your wake, all these completed shots start piling up. It'll just feel great. And then lo and behold, you'll get like a 10-second shot, and you'll bang it out like 5 2-second shots, right? Because you'll recognize that it's all just like, if it's a shot where someone, opens the door, checks his watch, goes outside the door, closes it, flips up his collar, and then starts walking away. Those 5 beats, 10 seconds long, you can bang them out as if they are all 2-second AnimGym shots. And this is how you're going to get your workflow up to speed on the really challenging, shots, okay? Okay. All right, so there's my pitch yet again for AnimGym. So I'm going to start on my shot. Here we just have Morpheus. My guy has a baseball cap, okay, that I modeled for him. And he's basically, he's going to put this on. So what are my very first considerations? The first thing I want to kind of like establish is that if we're not going to do a full body shot, then we're not getting literally, like if we cut them up halfway, we're only getting half practice. We're only getting 50% of the benefit of doing an AnimGym shot. So I might be working, up close right here, but I'm definitely going to make sure that my shot, is back here. All right. So I'm going to start by doing, just a little bit of like performing myself and just seeing what if anything starts happening in the body while I'm while I'm putting my hat on. I had a hat. Where'd it go? All right. Well, we don't even really need a hat. One email that I got right at the beginning, right when AnimGym kicked off, was from someone who said like, "Hey, I need help with the constraint system." I'm like, "Stop! Just animate the entire thing with an imaginary hat. I don't even need to see a hat. Okay? This is about actually performing in the body. So forget it." All right. So at any rate. So putting on a hat, I'm going to have him, I think I was going to have him do it kind of like two-handed and kind of like just adjust it on like that and just be done. I think I'd like to do something just like a little bit more interesting timing where he kind of like almost like leans into the hat and flips it onto his head and then is done, kind of like that. So I'm just going to kind of feel it out. There's not really any use in recording this for myself. If there was like sort of a longer shot, if there was sort of like a more intense shot, more physical or whatever, I would probably do that. But I'm just going to kind of like, you know, feel it out a little bit. Yeah, he's kind of just like leaning forward, doing just one weight shift from one hip to the other, like kind of like leaning into it, flipping the hat on. I can do just a little bit. I'm seeing like a little bit of micro in the head, neck, and shoulders when that happens, and sort of maybe I can emphasize it by going down into my waist and having the Y kind of like meet the hat as it comes to the top of the head as well. And I'm really just staying on balance. My back foot is coming up just a little bit, okay? So that's kind of really what I want to do. I just want to have him put the hat on, kind of like back here and settle. 48 frames. Just lean and then back. Lean, back. Very, 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 very simple, okay? So I'm probably going to line him up. I'm going to do this kind of 3/4 stance, and that'll be my start pose here in Maya. And then just feeling it out, just feeling it out. And this is another thing. I've said this a million times. Sometimes, I mean, I say I say that I've said everything a million times. One funny thing in improv is that they always say that rule number one. This is rule number one. Rule number one. Rule number one. That's kind of like the running joke. Everything that you're doing is always rule number one. So I may have said this before. Not a million times, but when you're starting a shot, you just have to have at least just a sprinkle of the physicality in your body. You can't begin any shot just like sitting down and getting the shot kick off and not standing up, not doing anything, just putting that shot kick off or closing the web page, however you're getting your shots sent to you or getting kicked off on your shots. And then just getting to work. Impossible, impossible, okay? There's no way that will work. So you do what I'm just doing. Stand up, kind of just, you know, just kind of feel it out, you know, loosen up a little bit. Let's go. I guess I'm gonna have him start with his hat kind of in his hand, not totally at his side and not, you know, not anticipated yet, but just kind of like down here, just like that. Okay, so that feels good. And again, I'm not really going to worry about the constraint system. I'm going to set mine up, but I'm really not going to worry about it. I'm not going to, like, for instance, I'm not going to transition the hat from his hand to his head until much later. I say much later like I'm going to be animating this for like days and days and days, even though it's going to be like 55 minutes. But at any rate, let's get started. Okay, so I had kind of a relaxed stance. Oops, that's the hips. Let me, actually, it's good for me to just save this right off the bat before anything gets lost. I want to, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm not looking down because I have to look down at this screen. I'm trying to look at you. I apologize that I continuously am looking down here. How can I reduce that? Oh, there we go. Cool. Okay, now I won't be looking down here because it's too far down. And now hopefully as I come from my screen, I'll be looking up at you. All right, still trying to work this out. All right. But at any rate, yeah, so I'm just going to save this really quickly just so that I'm sure that, you know, if there's a crash or something, that I don't lose it. If you don't mind. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. So let me just start building this pose. Just really kind of just loose in the body. I definitely want these to be IK hands. Let me get the hat. Not necessarily a huge fan of elbow follow, actually. As you're going, sometimes it's good to set all this stuff default in your rig file and then save it. I haven't done that, of course. Just going to grab this hat. Put the brim in his hand like this, and I'm not going to get too crazy. You know, I'm not going to take too long to try to get this going. You know, the right pose or whatever. Just trying to get it in the hand. My virtual trackball is all wacky. You know, let's go with something like that. Remember, AnimGym is not about, you know, let's have some constraint practice. Let's learn how to get the fingers to rest perfectly on the brim of the hat. No, this is running through your workflow one step at a time and getting to the point on a shot that would normally take you, you know, a week to get there, getting you there in one work session, so that, you know, you're finally at the end of this shot, at the end of the life cycle of this shot, in a place where you've never been. You know, maybe you've only kind of worked a shot like a little bit and never really gotten to like the super extreme polish. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is good. What was that? About 2 minutes of work on the hand pose? You know, that's all that's important. Okay, so I'm just going to constrain this real quick. Okay, make sure it's working. Okay. All right, so my hand was kind of relaxed. I like the elbow to be tucked in. The shoulder's too high. Does this translate? Does this rotate? How do I rotate this down? How do I get this to be a little bit more, a little less wacky here? Man, Morpheus has crazy shoulders, dude. There we go. Just move that down a little bit. This arm, I'm probably going to keep this arm FK. Let me go back to FK here. Reason being, it's just basically going to be overlapping and just kind of along for the ride. And you're probably seeing my face here, so I'm just going to remove my face. And, you know, because it's along for the ride, I'm just going to kind of, you know, do everything just a little bit, I don't know. You know, standard pose. Remember, all I'm concerning myself with is I really just want to get a full body, nice weight, you know, basically on weight performance here. And workflow-wise, don't forget to start thinking to yourself, what can I do workflow-wise to get some nice practice on my workflow? Me, I think you know that I'm like super high on this animating with tempo kick, and there's just something about it that's really blowing my skirt up. So I'm going to really try to make all of my choices animating with tempo. I don't think I need helper objects. I think I can pretty much pose this character quick enough that I can make choices with tempo. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm going in here to try to discover. So be thinking about what you can do to make your choices workflow-wise be as much practice as the kind of like the shot itself. Okay. So I'm still just building my start pose. Probably needs to be leaned just a little bit forward, but again on balance. A little bit stiff in the spine here. Is this the hips? Yeah. Does this FK out, or is that just shape? That just shapes. Okay. Okay. All right. So my new workflow. I'm gonna bring up the graph editor. So I normally convert my stepped to clamped. So now though, if I make my tangents clamped and I work in stepped preview, that kind of gives me the best of both worlds. I'm really loving this new way of working. Okay. So first thing I normally always do is set a key. Okay, on frame 1. What is this key? Yikes. What the heck happened there? Hold on a second. See what happened here. For some reason the hands are all messed up. What's going on here? Alright, I'm going to zero these hands and just make sure that it's not all screwed up. Okay, it is all screwed up. Alright, that's not a problem. It really is not. I know it seems like a huge problem, but I'm pretty sure that anything that I do, I can just import a new Morpheus and then just copy the animation. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'll do that a little bit later just because I want to keep on moving. And seriously, like the fingers being all whack, like man, how the hell did that happen? What's going on here? Oh, it's step preview, isn't it? It is. Step preview screws up Morpheus. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set a key. And it's going to fix itself. All right, don't question it. When it works, just keep on moving. Don't ask questions. All right, so I'm just going to use that workflow. Perhaps maybe I should go back to a step key workflow. I just saved it. Let me see what happens. Step preview. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we're fine. So let me just do what I just felt. All right. 48 frames. Okay. And I'm going to make my timing choices that are unique first. Okay. So, but I need to obviously pose my character just a little bit. So leaning forward, my foot, when I was doing this, my foot, and I'm just going to lean the hips as well, my foot was coming up just a little bit. Okay. Now, is there any reason to do, to go overboard with this? No, not at all. Okay. But I just want a little bit of it in there. Okay. This hand would be starting to basically kind of like anticipate the hat being flipped up to my head, so it would come out a little bit. I would probably want my shoulders to start rotating just a little bit to make room for that arm movement. I would counterpose this back arm to keep the weight on balance, right? I'm going to follow it with the head. All right, so this is kind of like my next pose, right? And you'll notice I did it 8 frames. 8 frames forward, actually 7 frames forward, but on frame 8. Okay. All right. Now that kind of moment before. Remember how I like to animate now, animating with tempo. Basically what the idea is you always make the timing choice that is going to be more kind of inspiring than fiddling with pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just a bare bones, super bare bones moment before he's put the hat on his head. So the extreme of that lean, and then the hat on his head still leaned out. And then I'm going to play with the timing of the body kind of follow through that pop up. Those are the timing choices that I want to play with, okay? When I've hit those, when I've really felt that those are coming through and they're looking great, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to massage the poses and make them start feeling really, really great, okay? So it really doesn't matter where these are right now. I'm just going to go forward to frame 16. It don't matter. So here's the extreme, all right? Lift this up even more. Really leaning now. He's got to lean a lot more than that. And his head and his neck, really. His neck has to come out too. Does this move? No. Okay, so here's my extreme. Okay, let me key everything again. I don't know what the heck this is. Delete that key. Oh, that's what that is. Somehow, whatever this key is, that's what's screwing up my hand. Interesting. Okay, so we're still not going to concern ourselves with that. That doesn't matter. I'm just going to avoid. Oops, I forgot to change the camera view. See, I apologize for that. This is a learning process and a work in progress. It's both of those things. Here we go. So I have my lean forward. I have the extreme of that lean, and then now I'm just going to quickly pose in the pose where the hat's on his head, right? Which I want to be basically almost like a halfway. The effort is like halfway from his hand and his head. You know, I want him to really kind of like lean into this. All right, and my idea is that he's going to get it on there, and as he's kind of leaning back out of this and popping out of it, we're going to adjust the fit, basically the position of it. I made the hat a little tight to the head, by the way. See how it's like sideways right now? So as he's coming back on a nice arc, of course, as he's coming back, he's going to just push it up and adjust it as well. Okay? And now counterbalance that back arm just a little bit more. Can even go a little bit more. Okay. Now, remember what I said. Now the next moment is the time. What I want to work is the timing of his body kind of popping out of this. Okay. So I'm going to build the very rough pose of him popping out of this, basically, and then just watch it over and over and over and over, and let timing experiments inspire me and give me, lead me basically to the right idea, the best idea for this. Right? Actually, you know what? It can start being adjusted right now. Okay. So now my workflow is going to be to watch this back and do some timing experiments, and then just see what we have. This is a good time to bring up the dope sheet. Okay. We got to see the scene summary. Okay. So here are all my keys in the entire scene. Very, very, very simple interface to just move things around, do some timing experiments. Look at this. How much easier could this be? Okay. Here we go. Oops, I need to definitely play real time. There we go. Okay, here we go. Not that exciting. I think the timing could be a lot better. All right, let's do this. Let's have him get to how come I can't select this? Oh, you know what that is? That's probably in the rig file. That's what that is. Aha! Windows, plugin, not plugin. Windows settings, preferences, animation, allow reference animation occurs to be edited. Huh. Okay, never mind. All right, here's my new idea for the timing. Watching this, let's get him out here quickly, and then pop him into the hat in a more dramatic way. Okay, so he pops out to here. Oops, everything. I don't know why it's not grabbing. Let me just do this. Alright, so this could probably be right here. It's probably like maybe 2-3 frames later. So he's out there, he's holding it, and then he holds it for a little bit longer, but then he pops into it, right? So these are a little bit closer together. So he gets out here, and then he pops into that overshoot in the body a little bit quicker. Let's take a look. Okay, I think he can go even faster. So let's get him out. Two frames apart. And then not hold for so long, because I'll have him slow into that. I'll have him slow into this pose. Okay, now let's see how this is going to work. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Actually, you know what? Practice what I preach, right? Let's just try 2 frames Let's do just 2 frames earlier. Watch it. Let's try 2 frames. That was 2 frames, sorry, 1 frame. No, I liked what I had. Okay. Okay. Now let's get him out of it. Block in the rest of the poses for the scene. Okay, I'm just going to minimize my dope sheet here. Okay, let's save it. Save your work. Save it often. Save it early and often. Okay. Let's get him out of this pose here. Still using that arm to adjust the position, kind of like how that hat is sitting. Basically pushing it just a little bit further back on his head through this section. But obviously this is, his head needs to start going back, right? Just notice how I put a little bit of overlap in that elbow. Do you see that now? Pretty sneaky. Now if we're getting some nasty candy wrappering on this this wrist, that won't end up being a problem because I will probably just change the constraint before this, so I can get that hand kind of like uninvolved and not having to drive where that hat is by this frame, so that I wouldn't worry about that right now if I were me. And I am me. All right, so I'm going to copy. Just copy this in pose, just to give me something a little bit easier to work with. That did not copy at all. Uh-oh, selection highlighting is not working anymore. Oh boy. All right, we don't need Maya to work for us, do we? We can do this without your help, Maya. Okay. Now let's do this. you'll find that, like I just did, I zero stuff a lot just to get it back in, you know, the correct range. And then this was sort of my low pose, wasn't it? So just slightly lower. And settle, right? Settle. Probably leaning forward too much. Oof, that neck is stressed out. Okay. Just get it generally on his head. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? You're not going to believe this. I'm going to do a visibility switch just because I don't even want to deal with the one that's on his head right now. That's how unimportant stuff like that is right now. So I have a new hat. Here's my hat, right? So I'm going to grab his head, parent constrain it, grab the hat, key the visibility, go one frame back, key it off, grab this guy's geo, key the visibility, key this one off. There. Now it's on his head. Done. See that? Let's have this arm kind of finish out. Oops. It's actually kind of hard to tell where everything is facing with these fingers messed up, but I think it'll be okay. Relax those shoulders just a bit. Okay. He looks a little weird with that all the way back there. Okay. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, let's watch. It's almost a cycle. It's funny because it's like popping back onto his hand and he's putting it back on his head. All right, cool. All right, so now is what I do. When I want to make sure that my moving holds are actually moving holds, well, this one doesn't really have a moving hold. It has a really kind of like delicate slow in, but that's not a moving hold. So I might not be able to do the normal thing that I do, which is copy my keys so that my moving holds actually get the time that they want. Yeah, he's kind of always moving in this one. Even this is not a moving hold. This is him slowing into this pose. You see that? So I guess there's only one place where we need it, which is just to copy this one. Okay? Now I'm going to turn off step preview. I'm going to let the hands freak out. Okay, now I'm going to copy this animation. I have a feeling that that's what this is. Edit keys, copy. Oh, my virus definitions have been updated. Hallelujah. Okay, now I'm going to just find a clean version of this guy's rig. Let's try that again, because I just copied something. Copy keys. You have to leave your clipboard. Save this. Just referencing a brand new one. Okay, cool. All right, so we don't have our hat, which is fine. Okay, it doesn't matter. The hat doesn't matter. Remember what I said. It doesn't matter at all. All right, so what I want to work now is I have this is like my very rough blocking. What I want to start working out is how am I going to, keep those timing choices that I specifically put in there. How am I going to keep them? And it just has to do with making adjustments to the position and the placement and the tangents on the keys to get that snappiness back. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on that slow in to this pose right here. Okay. So sometimes what you can do is you can kind of cheat a little bit and see how he's leaning in, and there's a lot of movement in between these two poses. I want him to only hit this pose on frame 20, and I already have a copy of it on frame 11. So I'm going to go frame 10 and water it down by middle mouse dragging from 10 to 11, and now we have basically like a poor man's slow in to that moment. See that? I'm going to have him stand still for just 4 frames though first. Okay, cool. All right. Now let's bring up my graph editor. And what I'm looking for is, get out of here, Avast, get out of here. What I'm looking for is how, like for instance, where this happened, how did the keys kind of pan out? How did they work themselves out? And are there shortcuts basically to getting back to some of the choices that I made? So what would be some shortcuts? I think probably if these middle two keys were splined and not flat, then it would actually give me the overshoot that I was looking for. No. Basically, I need to add my first breakdown. I want this to be moving on an arc. Okay, so here's my first breakdown. And this is defining that arc just a little bit more. Don't like how that leg is maxing out so much. Okay. The rotates are locked for too long. So let's smooth this. See what I just did there? All right, so let me go back over what I just did. This is moving on an arc, right? So this is coming down, and then it's basically moving, it's tilting forward and moving backwards, and then as it's coming down, I felt like this, almost like a platform in his hips. So I basically made the rotations, basically the X rotation, it's this one, it's the forward and back, like this. That's giving me that entire impression. And so I deleted this key that was here before, and I just made this a little bit more of an extreme. The other two rotations, Y and Z. Okay? Because I don't really know what they're doing. All I know is that they probably should be smooth. Polish phase, and I can make explicit decisions wherever is necessary. All right? So I'm definitely, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead this action with the hand. That's how I'm going to do it. Instead of key on 18, on 20 was where it started changing direction. Instead of it changing direction, I'm going to have it move even further out, almost max out. And bend even more. This elbow's just in the wrong place. I think these, I could probably just delete this key. Just get those head and neck going a little bit more back to where it's supposed to go. Just a little bit more naturally, like that. Okay. No animation would be right without a little bit of anticipation. Let's put that in. Let's just block in just a little bit of it. Just a breath. That's too much, right? So what I just did was I kind of set myself up to water this down a little bit, right? So let's do about half of that. Actually, this could use more rotation instead of translation. Okay, so see how much that is? Let's just let's get about half of that. Right, I middle mouse drag from 3 and I let go on 5 and I hit S. All right, it's probably still too much. Here we go. I'm just gonna cheat this just a little bit and have this lean forward. I'm gonna delete this key and I'm gonna have it overlapping just a little bit, just like that. Notice how I'm using. On some rigs, you will get a lot of gimbal lock if you use this multi-rotator. Basically, it's a rotation to camera. Morpheus doesn't seem to have that problem, and it adds a lot, I think. All right, see, this is too much. See how it's going there so fast? All right, let's split the difference. This shaper is the devil. There we go. Okay. Cool. He's not really getting, this is why I would say that the amount of fiddling that you do with the hat, it should be minimal, because what I want to get back into this is a little bit more of how I was kind of leaning, but I was kind of tilting my head rotating my head on Y. He's kind of going just down in X. I kind of want him to tilt in Y as well. So if I had done a lot of work on the hat, then that would have been bad, right? So let me just go in here. And just adjust all these keys. Okay. Now this obviously. This needs to be adjusted just a wee bit. In like that, but pull the elbow out just a little bit. There we go. Obviously, I've introduced a little bit of chatter out here. Actually, you know what? Not so bad. I'm just going to keep on splitting the difference a little bit. The head's going back too quickly. It's looking like he's hitting himself in the head. I want to make sure that it doesn't look like he's hitting himself in the head. So I'm going to try to keep the head forward just a little bit longer. Maybe I'll take over that key. And now split the difference backwards, like that. Okay? Very cool. Very cool indeed. All right, so where do I want to go from here? All right, clearly he's a little off balance. Okay, so actually let me talk about workflow. Let me talk about where I am. I would say that this is nearing the end of blocking. There's a few breakdowns that are missing, but this is nearing the end of blocking. How do I know that? Well, when I look at the animation, what I can tell is that the amount of breakdowns I need to add is very small to get the ability to adjust the timing to what I want it to be, and the posing after that. I mean, it's all very, very close. Blocking plus is the phase in which you're adding in-betweens, which are not as important as breakdowns, or not as information charged as a breakdown. An in-between is basically only a sort of like a dead key, meaning it's not defining an arc, it's refining an arc. It's not defining an extreme, it's refining the in and out of that extreme. Okay, that's the difference between a breakdown and in-between. I'm not sure if I've ever said that before. That's important to know. You heard it here first. So that being said, now that we're where we are, my goal should be to, well, I should be looking at this from a workflow perspective and saying to myself, okay, this is what this shot looks like in blocking. Now I'm going to take the entire thing to blocking plus. Once I've added those last few breakdowns, I'm going to take it to blocking plus, which means I'm going to be adding only stuff that is refining and sort of adjusting the major choices that I've done. If I find myself working on it and getting to a point where I'm actually making I'm making new decisions. Like for instance, perfect example is how I adjusted him from going like kind of like forward like this to kind of, you know, tilting his head into that hat as it comes up, right? Because I did that, I'm definitely not out of blocking, because that was defining kind of an extreme. That was defining a moment. As long as I've done all of that, and I'm sure that I'm not making any changes to things that are fundamental like that, then I know, okay, now I'm in blocking plus, and I'm adding my in-betweens. And why it's important to know exactly where you are in your workflow is because you shouldn't be sitting down and looking at your shot after you've been away from it for a while and saying like, oh, what does this need? Oh, look at that knee popping. Oh, look at that, that arm penetrating. Look at that, whatever, because you're going to notice the things that the squeaky wheels in animation. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You know that saying? Those squeaky wheels are going to distract you from the choices you should be making. So knowing where you are in your workflow is the only way to know what you should be working on when you sit down in your animation. So now I know, okay, this has been taken to the point, almost. I still have, I feel like I have a few breakdowns, but this has been taken to the point where I can be just adding in-betweens. Then I can start thinking about all of those blocking plus issues that I have written down in my workflow, like comparing to my thumbnails, if I had thumbnails and reference video, like defining arcs, like adding performance texture that's part of the performance, right? Not stuff that like dirtying up the keys and like little micro jitters here and there, that kind of stuff. That's non-performance texture, but like adding performance texture, and doing all these kinds of things, right? So my workflow is probably a little bit different to yours, but you should still know exactly where you are in your workflow. That's kind of my point that I'm driving at right now. Okay, so let's kind of wrap up here. Basically, where I'm going to take this. Let me just watch it a few more times so that I can be sure that you know that we're ready to go kind of into blocking plus. I don't feel like I'm getting quite what I need out of watching it in the viewport, so I'm just going to play blast real quick. Should be very fast because it's only 48 frames, right? Forgive that jingling sound. I might bring your dog to work day. Pretty happy with what the bottom half is doing. I think the top half is a little jittery and has probably too many keyframes. Okay, so I'm just going to do just a few adjustments. So he comes in and then really kind of like that rotation starts. I'm going to say that the rotation should not be as much. Should really start from back here. So the rotation is locked for too long, I would say. Yeah, so those keys. That's already better. It's a even nicer slow in from the beginning of the shot. This arm is doing a little too much at the end. So let's just delete, just let that kind of work itself out, and we'll smooth that out and make it what it's supposed to do later. And then the last thing is that this extreme on the head is not quite working out. And that's obviously not working. So I'm just going to take a little bit out of the neck, just a little bit. And now here's one of the breakdowns that I think I need. We're going to anticipate down on the body just a little bit here. And now I'm going to smooth this Y arc just a tad. And overshoot, just smooth it out. Just by the book, I don't need that key. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to play blast this one more time and see if this is ready to call blocked and ready to go into blocking plus. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, the arm is really choppy, isn't it? But that doesn't mean that it's not ready to go into blocking plus. This is blocked. This is definitely blocked, and it's ready to go into blocking plus because all the keys are there. They just need to be kind of just refined, right? It's not like I want, like for instance, I have him go into that slow in, and then there's like a little bit of a moment where for 2 frames it extends even further. Those keys are there, right? So if that's looking a little bit choppy right now, which it is, it's not like the keys aren't there. So all the meat is there. I just have to rearrange it and refine it and start getting into the minutia of in-betweens, okay? So I'm going to leave it at that this month. So we will probably either finish this up. I have a couple cool lectures coming up, a flight lecture coming up. We'll see if I have time to finish this shot. Maybe if you guys want to see this shot finished, then we'll do that. But this was about an hour and a half, and I got all the way through blocking. So I would say probably another hour and a half, 2 hours, I could finish this shot. And that would be a good time as well. That'd be also a good pace for if you wanted to do, basically episodic to feature film animation. 2 seconds in a day would be pretty good. That's about between 5 and 10 seconds a week is what you want to do on features. So this is pretty much on pace. Okay, so participate in the AnimGym. Do your own tests outside the AnimGym. Don't just depend on the assignments and what I'm showing you what to do. But enjoy yourself, okay? Do a lot of tests, a lot of work. Post in the AnimGym. I can't wait to do the webcast where I critique the work. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, and as always, rock on.